have the Arabs given up on Gaza?
The Arabs everywhere, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Arabian Gulf, are struggling to regain their freedom. And now we see Syria is setting an example that what we might see being followed by other places in
The strong man is back across these Arab countries.
The Arabs are living in a prison. Their jailers are their rulers. Palestine will not be completely free until the Arabs around it are free. Those on the left misunderstand what's going on in our region. I personally gave up on George Galloway more than 10 years ago. The Iranians need to reconsider their position. You need to attend to your own wounds first. Zionism in Palestine and despotism in the Arab world are two sides of the same coin.
When we talk about Gaza, we often speak of it in isolation of the broader Muslim world. When the Muslim countries are mentioned, it's normally to suggest they have given up on the Palestinian cause. The Abraham Accords is oft-cited as an example of how the Muslim world has turned away from their beleaguered Muslim brethren. But is that really the case? Is the future fortunes of the Palestinians linked to the Muslim rulers? To help us untangle fact from fiction, I'm happy to have back on the show Dr. Azzam Tamimi. Dr. Azzam is a Palestinian activist, an academic and broadcaster, and travels extensively to the Muslim world. Dr. Azzam Tamimi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back to The Thinking Muslim.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me again.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And in many ways, today's conversation, I think, is quite important because we've got the backdrop of Syria, we've got the ongoing genocide in Gaza, which is now coming to 15 months. We have a situation in the Muslim world where many Western commentators have now suggested that the Arabs have given up on Gaza. I mean, maybe I should start with that question. Have the Arabs given up on Gaza?
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Arabs as peoples, as masses, as individuals, never gave on Palestine or on Gaza.
Yeah.
Sometimes people conflate governments with peoples. And that's part of the problem. The problem in the Arab world is that these governments are not representative of the people they rule. These governments are the product of the world order that started forming by the end of the First World War and was completely formed by the end of the Second World War. A world order that brought to an end the Ottoman Caliphate and created in much of its territory entities loyal to the victors in the wars. So Palestine is one of the symptoms. A more serious symptom that sometimes we tend to overlook is the fact that the Arabs are in shackles. The Arabs are not free. The Arabs everywhere, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Arabian Gulf, are struggling to regain their freedom and their dignity. And Syria is just an example of this. I mean, 14 years ago or 13 years ago, we had the eruption of the Arab Spring, starting with Tunisia, moving to Egypt, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and partly Iraq, threatening even other places with similar developments. But then this was somehow suppressed, and the fire was extinguished through the efforts of a global coalition. Some local powers, some international powers who feared the change came together and suppressed it. Now we see Syria is setting an example that what we might see being followed very soon by other places in the region, which is our revolution is not over. What happened 12, 13 years ago of suppressing that revolution was an end of one round in this process. Now we have the second round. There may be a third round and even a fourth round. And therefore, you see, if I were to diagnose what's wrong with the Arabs, it's not that Israel is occupying Palestine, because that's a symptom, but it is the fact that the Arabs are in a prison. The Arabs are living in a prison, and their jailers are their rulers who deny them their basic rights and who steal their wealth and smuggle it elsewhere. So if you look at it this way, then you will come to the conclusion that I have come to, which is the fact that the Arabs have not given up on Palestine.
I want to understand the link between the future of the Arab world in particular and the future of the Palestinians, and whether there is a connection. I'm reminded of Avishalaim, his book on the title of The Iron Wall, and the idea is that the Arabs have to give up on any prospect or any belief that Palestine can be liberated from the Israelis. Can you just plot out that connection between the Arab rulers on the one hand and the security and safety of Israel on the other?
Well, Israel could not have lasted this long without the continuation of these despotic regimes across the Arab world, because it's not just American weapons and Western money and Western political and diplomatic leverage that is keeping Israel intact.
Yeah.
It's the existence of these Arab regimes who have been suppressing their peoples, preventing them from lending a helping hand to their brethren in Palestine. It is the duty of the Palestinians to rise against occupation. That's their destiny. The people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank, all the sacrifices they're making, that's their destiny. And it's their duty at the same time. Yet I firmly believe that Palestine will not be completely free until the Arabs around it are free. So it's really one project. It's the same project we're talking about here. And that's why early on, when the Syrians took over main cities recently and the regime came to an end, I wrote an article talking about how the liberation of the Levant is a glad tiding for the Palestinians, because the moment these Arabs are liberated from their tyrants, time will come soon when Palestine is held by these Arabs, and that's why the Israelis are worried. Of course, the Israelis are very worried about what had happened in Syria.
Of course, there's a counter argument to that many on the left in particular put forward, and that is that Syria is a distraction. In many ways, Gaza was the focus, and the fate of the Palestinians is now in the balance, because you now have Syria, which has gone through this revolution, and some may even suggest that it's now given Israel a better opportunity on its border than it had with Assad, who was part of the axis of resistance, the so-called axis. Untangle those notions for me, please.
Well, there are people, especially those on the left, who misunderstand what's going on in our region. They are anti-Zionists. They're against occupation. They're against American imperialism. But they don't seem to see that the Arabs as a whole are in desperate need of regaining their freedom and human dignity.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with the way they're making a distinction between the two. They're not making the connection. It's okay, you can support Palestine, but at the same time, you can forget about what Assad did to his people in Syria. I mean, how can anybody accept that if you know exactly what Assad was doing to his people in Syria, what every other ruler in the region is doing to his people, the tens of thousands of prisoners, political prisoners in Arab jails from the Atlantic to the Gulf. Isn't that cause for concern? So you see, we need really to have an open dialogue with our friends, our comrades on the left, because we do work together on certain issues, but we had disagreements and contradictions on other issues. Whenever we, for instance, demonstrated against the war in Iraq, we came together, we worked together. When we demonstrated against Zionism in Palestine, we worked together. But when we went to demonstrate against tyranny and despotism in a certain Arab country, they never show up. They have a completely different, reckoning probably, or maybe they have a different analysis of the situation. I wonder whether part of this is ideological. I'm not sure. But for me, it's very clear. I stand with the oppressed, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their color, irrespective of their ethnicity or nationality. And I cannot see how I'm expected to support the steadfastness of the Palestinian people without supporting the struggle of the Syrians for freedom.